Let's go. We see that hype outside, right from the house.
Guys, Golden here, and welcome to the Epic Games versus Apple final trial day number 5 recap video. Today, guys, we finally got an idea of what side the judge might actually be on in this lawsuit, and it got really good today, so make sure you guys will go watch until the very end to make sure you guys get all the news. But either way, you guys obviously know I don't want to waste you guys' time, so let's head right on into today's summary. So basically, this court hearing started off with the Apple Senior Marketing Director, Tristan Kosmyenka, or something like that. You guys may have remembered it from the last video, but basically, he finished off his cross-examination. So basically, they started off by discussing Roblox, and if you guys actually watched the last video, you guys would know they ended off that little court hearing explaining how Roblox, which is basically like a catalog of a bunch of games, was actually approved to the App Store. However, different third-party app stores with a bunch of games on them were previously not approved to the App Store and are currently not allowed on the App Store. And as you guys know, Epic has always kind of wanted to make their own Epic Games launcher on the App Store. That's been one of their main goals with this lawsuit. However, obviously, currently, it's not allowed. So Apple actually explained how they determined that Roblox was in fact not a store inside of a store. And they explained how apparently it was not actually a game. Instead, it was apparently an experience which allows it to have multiple games inside of it. And when I heard this, I was a little bit confused because when you guys think of Roblox, you obviously think of a video game. However, clearly Apple does not think the same, and you guys will see later in the video. Basically, the judge kind of attacked Apple for this, but basically after the judge heard this, immediately she was a little bit skeptical. So she then asked if Minecraft would also be considered a game, and then Apple said it would be considered a game because although in Minecraft you got obviously join like different servers and different games within that game, the mechanics of the game will still remain the same. So security and privacy also would still remain the same. However, obviously Roblox is kind of a similar thing where obviously you don't download any new content. However, they still consider Roblox an experience instead of a game. But anyways, then the Roblox point was kind of out of the way. Apple then explained their next point, and they explained how when people get iPhones or iPads, they expect to go to the App Store and get safe and trusted apps because app reviewers spend 8 to 10 hours every single day just simply reviewing apps. And Apple basically explained how if they didn't review these apps or allowed too much App Store freedom, there would be tons of risks to the customer security. Now, previously, Epic obviously kept claiming that they're doing it for security to try to protect their monopoly. However, Apple is still continuing to push that they are simply doing this for the customer's security. Is that true or not? Honestly, we really have no idea if it's true or not. The judge is really gonna have to be the judge of that, which is why they're called the judge. But anyways, Epic then took the stand, sending Lauren Musco, okay guys, I give up, I don't know any last names, to apparently ask Apple's Tristan Kosmyenka, dude, oh my, I swear to God, why are Apple and Epic's last names impossible to read out? Alright, but basically to summarize, Epic sent someone to ask Apple some questions. So Epic kind of started off asking a bunch of random Fortnite questions like, have you been to a Fortnite concert before? And after all these practically useless questions, finally Epic asked a kind of interesting question and asked why Uber and Lyft are not required to use Apple's payment system for their payments. And Apple explained how apparently the reasoning was because a majority of those memberships are actual physical services, and according to Apple, they're claiming that basically if you have a physical service that is real life, you know, you pay them right then and there, it is allowed. However, if you do something like buying V-Bucks, that obviously has to use Apple's payment system. Now, Epic then basically changed the subject completely and started to discuss how App Store reviewers quite often apparently miss dangerous apps and allow them to make it onto the App Store, and apparently they showed a bunch of like examples of these apps, and I wouldn't name all these apps, but the names of these will probably get this video demonetized, so just know, just from hearing that, they're pretty bad. But basically, Epic's point here was essentially that although Apple literally spends all these hours reviewing these apps, there are still tons of these apps that get past them and cause all these security issues and cause all this like NSFW content and basically terrible content. And even though they obviously claim that they are super secure about this, they barely let any of these apps pass, there are still many examples of where Apple has made a mistake and allowed these apps to pass and make it onto the App Store, proving their App Store is not 100% safe. And Apple then responded to this by saying they simply are making critical errors and are continuously trying to do better. So I mean, hey, everyone does make mistakes. However, Apple's claiming that they are still trying to improve this and trying to make sure they do not let any of these apps pass. However, for now, Epic is still going to take advantage of those few little mistakes that Apple obviously made on the review process and use it against them. Now, here's where it really started to pick up the pace, and this was probably the most interesting part of today, and that was because Epic then actually explained some really really good points. And first off, they explain how users are actually able to download apps outside of the App Store on their Mac computers, which Apple obviously does own Mac. And they explain how Macs are still considered to be safe. So though obviously on the Mac computers they're allowed to, download stuff from wherever they want. They can go to like the epicgames.com, they can install Fortnite from there, they can do whatever they want on the Macs. However, it still is owned by Apple, and yet they still consider Macs to be a secure and safe device. So Epic's point here is they're trying to explain how basically look at the Mac. Apple owns this product, and yet obviously they have so much freedom on the Macs, and yet still the Mac is considered to be a safe device that users can constantly use and not get viruses every second. Their basic point was that the Mac is able to do this, so why can't iPads and iPhones also have the same amount of freedom? But anyways, here is probably the most important point of the trial, and here's where the judge actually got involved and explained to Apple one of the problems with limiting competition is that you don't get innovation. So my concern with this lawsuit is that if you don't allow developers to compete with you, things will not improve. So clearly on this point, the judge was siding with Epic and does not truly believe that Apple is allowing apps to compete on their devices, which shows obviously monopolistic behaviors. And keep in mind, guys, this is exactly what this lawsuit is based around, accusing Apple of being a monopoly. And since the start of this lawsuit, Epic has accused Apple of being a monopoly. And right here, the judge basically just accused Apple of having monopolistic traits. So in my opinion, guys, Epic just took a massive W. And in my opinion, keep in mind, we still have obviously 10 more days so far, but at the time being of me recording this, Epic is definitely winning, in my opinion. And if you guys are wondering why that's good news, well, basically, if Epic wins, there's almost a 100% chance that Fortnite Mobile will return to the App Store, because obviously you guys have been worried that perhaps if Epic does lose, they'll refuse to bring the game back without the direct payment system in the app. So basically, if we want Fortnite Mobile back, the best option is for Epic to win this lawsuit. But again, guys, you guys can root for whoever you want. In this case, I mean, obviously Epic has done horrible things to us, but in my opinion, I'm simply rooting for Epic because I want the game back onto the App Store. But don't get me wrong, there is still a really good chance if Apple wins, the game does return. But anyways, after this point, the judge was clearly somewhat going against Apple and then said how she actually doesn't understand how Apple said that Minecraft is a game, but Roblox is not, because she explained how with Roblox, your kid might say, I want to play this game with my friend, I want to play Roblox, and it would seem like they would want to play a game. So basically, the judge clearly thinks that Roblox is a game, while meanwhile, Apple disagrees. But anyways, after this absolutely insane point from the judge and Epic, the Apple representative, Tristan, alright, I'm not even gonna try, but then basically his Apple representative was then excused, and overall it didn't really end on a good note for Apple. But then the Epic Games vice president and manager of the Epic Games store, Steve Allison, then took the stand. Steve then basically explained how the Epic Games store obviously runs and made it clear that they only charge 12% compared to Apple and Steam's 30%. They explained how developers on their store are actually not required to use Epic's payment system, and if they did use their own payment system, they wouldn't have to pay Epic 12%, which is kind of crazy. So basically, Epic was explaining how their App Store allows developers to be much freer, but also still has virus scans. And according to Steve, there has actually never been any known instances of malware, pirated content, or fraud on the Epic Games store. And the store has more than 500 apps available. So I mean, clearly the point here that Epic was trying to make is obviously we allow more apps for freedom. And look at this, we have no malware, we have no issues with it. And obviously the developers are happy, and overall the environment is much more competitive, and it makes it a good environment, and there's a lot more innovation in the Epic Games launch. So their point was basically it's a whole better environment. Apple should also do the same as Epic Games is doing. But anyways, the next point, they finally brought up the iOS community, kind of not really like the Fortnite mobile community, but more of like the overall like iOS gaming community. But basically a lawyer then asked, how does not being on iOS actually affect the Epic Games store? And Epic simply said, we are not able to go after that market with the mobile community. So their point was, by them not having their own Epic Games store on the iOS platform, they're obviously not able to go to this like much broader audience, this huge audience with mobile players and mobile gamers. And obviously they want to be able to do that so that when they've got a broader audience and overall just a more successful platform and a more successful Epic Games launcher, kind of like Steam. But then after Apple pretty much being bashed this entire day, Apple then struck back. Apple then actually said, are you aware that an app named itch.io, which is on the Epic Games store, has adult games with inappropriate content in them? And Epic said no. But according to some reporters inside of the newsroom, a lot of them are claiming that this argument seems to definitely stick with the judge. So overall, a good point from Apple. But anyways, the final witness of the day then came up. Matthew, bro, I can't. I'm not even gonna try anymore. But apparently, you know, the vice president of marketing at Epic Games then came up to the stand. But basically, Matthew then also explained how any users who wanted a refund from purchases on their iOS devices were required to ask Apple for help, which according to him was a terrible experience. So I know they kind of already discussed this in the last trial day, but basically it's just confirming that it was still a terrible experience, and overall it was not good at requesting a refund from Apple. And obviously if they had their own payment system, they can handle the refunds themselves and provide a much better experience to the customers. But then they ended it off discussing some statistics, and then finally the judge asked, what's Fortnite doing for Mother's Day? And Tim Sweeney confirmed, we're doing something now. So yes, guys, there will probably be some sort of a Mother's Day event for Fortnite. By the way, guys, make sure you guys do tell your mothers Happy Mother's Day this weekend. But anyways, though, that is pretty much everything you guys need to know about the final day of week 1, day number 5 between Epic Games versus Apple. This week was a crazy week for the trial, and we got 2 more weeks until this final trial should be fully over. 10 more days of trial to go before we hopefully get Fortnite Mobile back onto the App Store. Thank you guys so much for supporting all the videos. It means the world to me, and I'll be back next week to summarize it. So make sure you guys keep in mind there will be no trial days on the weekends, but starting next Monday I'll be back and making content for all of you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video to the very end. You guys already know what to do. I'm not even gonna say it today, but either way, guys, this has been week 1, and I'll see you guys in the next week.